Hello and welcome to week 7 in the psychology of adulthood, and we're going to be taking on chapter 7, love and intimacy, the stage in Erickson's theory that follows adolescence into young adulthood. We've inserted a whole bunch of things into there in terms of emerging adulthood, and then the other things having to do with what's going on in young adulthood. And now we're going to spend some time looking at intimacy itself. And one of the first theories that we explore is, of course, the most famous Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we see right in the middle, we see this theory presenting that after we've met our physiological needs and our safety needs, the needs that we then are looking for are friendship, intimacy, a family, a sense of connection to other people. And this opens the gateway to the next one. So esteem, a sense of respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, all of that is predicated by connection with other people. So in this theory, you really get this sense of that true level of self-esteem really grows out of relationships that we have with other people. We also go into kind of a difference between, kind of slicing this earliest young adulthood stage into two. You have emerging adulthood and then traditional young adulthood. The difference in terms of emerging emerging adulthood versus young adulthood, and then we take what we know about the characteristics of emerging adulthood, and I'll list them for you. The identity, it's an age of identity exploration, relative instability, a focus on the self, a feeling of in between, the opening up of different possibilities. And let's apply this to relationships. So you're looking at a period of time where individuals may want to explore different relationships. There might be a certain degree of instability in their relationships. There might be a sense of self-focus as opposed to other focus, a feeling of being in between, not ready to commit, and then ultimately looking at different possibilities. So this is an age where if people are in that emerging adulthood part, they might be really focusing on those areas as they relate to their relationships. Now this applies, it can be totally focused on friends, transitioning from the friends you have in high school and college into the friends that you have at work, and that kind of thing. It could have to do with your intimate relationships. It could have to do with your family and separating from the family and creating a new family of your own, new traditions, new values, and whatnot. You can see all of those as being part of emerging adulthood, leading ultimately to the individuals meeting those needs, both as they're established by Maslow, but also by Erickson's theory. Here we have the stage of intimacy versus isolation, which is and both of these theories really capture the importance of relationships with others, and not just intimate, lifelong spouse type relationships, friendships, colleagues, professional and otherwise, the friends that you have that you do fun things with, and the people that you know in your life that you do other serious things with, and sometimes those are the same people, and all of these relationships that we um, have in our lives. Now, when we look at Erickson's theory, we see an important thing as really becomes actually one of the inspiring aspects of my puzzle pieces theory, was the notion that identity, which is the one that Erickson associates with adolescence, comes before intimacy. Now, Erickson himself said that relationships begin during that identity development stage. Serious love relationships begin there, and they shape part of who we are. And so in a way, our pieces merge with the people that we're with, and we modify each other in committed relationships. And he recognized that that did happen in adolescence. But within that structure, there's sort of a what I picked up in terms of the meta message there of having intimacy, having identity prior to intimacy is, if you're going to have a successful long-term relationship, you have to settle at least some of those identity issues pretty solid to find the person that's going to be a good fit. Now, that might be a person to grow with, but that would mean that you have an identity that encapsulates growth, and you would have to find someone who will not only allow that, but encourage it and potentially help you with it. And so, this idea of knowing yourself and having some identity aspects sort of pinned down prior to the long-term committed type relationships that will start evolving in young adulthood and then move into the next stage of generativity and creating a family. Um, that order is important, one not before the other. And in my puzzle pieces theory, I go a little bit, if things go awry, things don't go as they probably should, and an individual gets caught up in a particularly controlling relationship early in life, that they may establish a sense of self as very highly dependent on who they're with as opposed to who they are. So an internal representation, that schema of self, sees themselves as being incomplete unless they're in a committed relationship. Now, this, of course, puts a lot of power over a person's life and who they are in the hands of somebody else. And when this is going on during adolescence, sometimes into young adulthood, which are periods of temporariness and in-betweenness and all that, that's a lot of sand to build your house on. And so that can sometimes go make things go wrong. And that was a lot of the focus of this puzzle pieces theory that you're being introduced to now. Now, I go into my theory of puzzle pieces, and let me explain this a little bit. Puzzle pieces arose out of some clinical experiences that I had while I was beginning to teach at KVCC, teaching developmental psych and going over stages of development. I became really interested in individuals who, my observation was, mostly women, just because women are more likely to come to get help, mostly women, but a few cases of men who choose to remain for a variety of reasons, sometimes personal safety, in very negative, poor relationships for extended periods of time. My behavioral background would tell me that an individual who's, and I'll just be blunt, a person who's getting beat up all the time would not like that, and they would leave. And I'm sure many of you either know someone or you yourself have found yourself caught in those situations where you're torn between the commitments that you made to the relationship and highly negative components of that. And from the outside, it's a little easy to say, well, just leave, and it may not be that straightforward. And I was curious about why is it not straightforward, and started to develop these ideas that I now call puzzle pieces. The essence of which is that early on, just like I was saying before, negative relationships during adolescence can be one of the factors that shapes a person to be leaning toward having a partner as a necessary component for them to feel complete. This is different than individuals who have a sense of complete alone and wish to share that with another person. A much more healthy representation of intimacy. And so that whole theory that I kind of summarized, still very much in development, still bringing ideas together. I mentioned this in a number of different classes, or slightly different explanations in each class, really kind of hoping maybe to pull that all together into a book one of these days. So hang out for that. So I introduce you to that. So the first discussion, I'm having you evaluate puzzle pieces? Does it make sense? Is there any holes in this theory? I've been asking these questions and taking notes on these answers for over 10 years now, and I'm curious as to what you think about that particular theory. In the quiz, I'm asking you to look at the goal of intimacy and the difference between what's happening in emerging adulthood versus young adulthood. Making that kind of connection as we're essentially adding another stage into Erickson's theory in between adolescence and young adulthood. And then finally, in the assignment, what I'm having you do, and I'm going to get it up here on the screen, I give you Sternberg's triangular theory of love. So we're looking at sort of a definition, a three-part definition of intimacy, commitment, and passion. And this model can be seen as both descriptive, what does a love relationship look like, and all the other different relationships that you see on this graphic. And then when you're problem solving about an unsatisfactory relationship, you can use this as a tool to discover the components that might be weak or missing in that relationship, and thus develop a plan if the notion is to keep that relationship together. So you can see here that we have the three components of intimacy, commitment, and passion. When these are all present in the relationship between people, we would call that consummate love. Now, if it's just intimacy, then that we have a word for that called liking. If it's passion alone, then it's infatuation. When it's just commitment, no intimacy or passion, then it's empty love. And then we see this combination. It's a very, very rich model here from Sternberg. We have intimacy and commitment, but no passion. These are our companions. They're our very close friends. Then we have passion and intimacy, but no commitment. That'd be the romantic type of love. And then you have passion and commitment, but no intimacy. And we have fatuous love or infatuation. But there's a commitment at that point, so refers to it as fatuous love. And we see this kind of take love, and poets have been trying to describe that forever, right? Been writing songs about love. We've been writing poems about stories about love, tragedies and wonderful stories about and plays about love. Let's put it in the hand of a psychologist and see what they say about it. And this is the kind of thing that you get. See these components and different combinations of these components defining the kinds of relationships that we have in our lives. Now, for this assignment, I'm having you create a slideshow, no voiceover on this one. And the slideshow is simply, you take this graphic. I've posted a copy, I think it's a JPEG of this graphic. Download that, put it into a slide in PowerPoint. And then I want you to add, let's look at put little dots there, little circles representing different people in your life. And where are they? Are you, do you have, are there individuals, let's say, get back to that graphic. Do you have someone in your life that it's a romantic love or a companion in love? Or what about the consummate one, the person right in the middle there? What about infatuation, liking? Where are your friends? Where are your very close friends? And you're just putting those individuals in different quadrants, just placing them in where they would be. Maybe even sliding them along, like I'm looking at, say, looking at intimacy and commitment. There's a lot of your friends might be there, and there might be somewhere there's a lot of that dot might be more over toward intimacy and less commitment. There might be others that are very committed, but haven't seen them for quite a while, kind of thing. And that's so you don't really know what's going on, but still very highly committed relationships. I have some high school friends that are like that. near and dear to me, but I don't keep in touch with them nearly as much as certainly I used to. And they don't keep in touch with me either. So it's a mutual thing where we get together every couple years or so and we just pick up the conversation right where we left off. So still a lot of commitment in that relationship. So the assignment is to first look at your current constellation of different relationships. And then I give you an optional slide. If you wish to explore this, you can explore this simply on your own and just submit this one to me. But if you want to do both and submit them to me, the next one, you take that graphic and use this graphic to describe the degree to which your current primary relationship has each of these components. You can use this graphic to describe the strengths and potential growth areas in your relationship. And that's it. That's the assignment. And so what we have the discussion on puzzle pieces. We have the quiz where you contrast intimacy as it occurs in emerging adulthood versus Erickson's view of young adulthood. And then finally, we're taking Sternberg's triarchic theory and describing the constellation of people in our lives and the optional presentation on your current major partner type relationship if you're in one. And so that's it for this week. It's an exciting chapter because I think for many of you, the way I've gotten to know you over the course of the semester, a lot of you are knee deep, if not chin deep, in some of these areas. We're getting into the ages and areas where people are actively being right now. So move certainly beyond adolescence, and many of you are in young adulthood and going into middle adulthood to be talking about next time. So that's it for this week. Take care, and I will see you online.